Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Hi, Jill.
Hello, Teresa.
Hello. So, can you tell me what first attracted you to the Lay Dominicans?
Well, I was actually sent to a Dominican house because I had a theology question that was puzzling me. So I pitched up at Cambridge Blackfriars, and I'm not a scholar and I'm not a theologian, but it's been a lifelong interest, and it gets a bit tricky and you need help then when it gets tricky. So I banged on the door, and one of the friars came to the door, and I just lunged at him with this question, and he said, "Come in, come in." And he ended up giving me, it was about something about the Trinity. I can't remember. It was 25 years ago now. But anyway, we got talking, and we talked over a period of weeks at his invitation, which was a huge gift and privilege, and quite unexpected. And so I got to know the Dominicans, the Dominican house. And he said, "Have you ever thought about the Lay Dominicans?" And I said, "Who are the Lay Dominicans?" And so he pointed me at the Lay Dominicans, and it went on from there 25 years ago.
Wow. So it's really, that's very apt, isn't it? It was you searching for truth
And
that perhaps opened the door for you.
Exactly right. And it was what I'd been looking for a long time, because, as I said, I'm not an academic, and I'd been reading theology for 25, 30 years. And I really needed someone to help me to do theology properly and really, really work towards the truth. And there were the Dominicans that sort of, I was stumbling into their path, and there I was.
Yeah, okay. That's a lovely story. That's really, really beautiful. Okay, so now that you are a Lay Dominican and have been for quite a while,
Yeah.
how has it impacted your life?
Hugely, in ways I can hardly find words for, really. Preparing for this talk of ours, I made a couple of notes to try and crystallize what I was thinking along these lines. To be honest, the most important aspect of lay Dominican life has proved to be not the study, not the theology, which is what the Dominicans are famous for, but the fraternity. I've been a member of the Cambridge fraternity for about 25 years. And people have come and gone, people have died, retired, and new people have come and so on. But always that group of people in the fraternity, the Lay Dominican fraternity, they give each other so much in our monthly meetings. And I'm unmarried. I haven't got a family of my own. Until I retired, I was, a career girl. And I've never known what it was like to feel rooted or part of a community, but that the Lay Dominicans have given me. I've always been a Catholic, but my place in the scheme of things, God's providence, the church, I always felt a bit like a square peg until I came into the Dominicans. Now I don't feel like a square peg. I feel most truly me, the authentic Catholic me, has come alive in the Dominican context, whereas it never did before. And it's with the help of my brothers and sisters in the order, I've become, I think, more me as a person and as a Christian, and given me confidence to say, yes, I am a disciple of Christ, and carry on with confidence in the graces I've received, and that the Dominicans around me have confirmed me in my faith. I can't put it more strongly than that.
Yes, it's hard, isn't it, to do it all on your own?
It is.
And the love, the fraternal love of our brothers and sisters leads to our blooming, I think. And also, would you say it's almost like a freeing up?
Absolutely.
Yes.
One of my brothers in our Cambridge fraternity, who hasn't been with us terribly long, But he's been a friend of the Dominican order all his life, but he's now become a lay Dominican. And he said, I take a big, deep breath when I walk into the lay Dominican meeting and think, oh, I'm home. And now I can relax.
Yes.
And this is, I think it's important to all of us.
Extremely, yes, yeah. And I think also what is quite unique is that the Dominican order see us as very much as a significant part of the Dominican family, which I find quite unique, really.
Yes, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yes, we refer to ourselves as part of the order, and we're very fortunate in our fraternity being our meetings take place in the priory amongst the friars. The sisters are just up the road. We bump into each other all the time, and we do feel very much part of the order of preachers. Not something I expected when I first knocked on the door.
Yeah. Well, God had his plan for you already, didn't he? All mapped out.
Yeah.
Okay, so what opportunities do you find in your daily life for preaching, and how would you define or see preaching for a lay Dominican?
I can't speak for all the others because the saying goes, when you met one lay Dominican, you've met one lay Dominican, and everybody has a different life as a lay Catholic. Some are single, married, old, young, children, professional. My life, now that I'm getting on a bit and I'm retired from work, centers on my parish. And my parish is not in the same district as the priory where we have our meetings. So I'm one Dominican out here in the bush sort of thing. And people in my parish, some people in my parish know I'm a Dominican, but really I think they just see me as somebody who works around the parish. And it's more my preaching is more reactive than proactive, simply because of the situation in which I live in this little town, in this little parish. I think of what St. Peter's epistle says, you must be able to give a reason for the hope that is in you. And I kind of interpret that as preach where you're put.
Yeah.
And so I'm put here and amongst this Catholic parish in this small town. I'm a member of the Churches Together in Saffron Walden is my town. Churches Together in Saffron Walden, I'm on that committee. I'm one of the people that organises the Women's World Day of Prayer. I do adult catechesis in my parish, Catholic converts. Until recently I was doing confirmandi. But mostly my work is in conversation with adults, Catholics and converts and non-Catholics. And it's responding to their needs. I did one-to-one RCIA recently with a chap who was too disabled to get onto our premises at the parish. So I went to his home. And his wife is not wanting to become a Catholic, but she's a good Christian. And he became a Catholic at Easter with her blessing. She actually asked me to source a Catholic Bible for him. So I did. Now they want to carry on that conversation, the pair of them. So I'm going to them every week just to talk about whatever they want to throw at me. And this week it was grace. Next week it's going to be theodicy. And the week after that it's going to be, what do we mean when we say holy? So I was invited by them to just sit down with them and let's talk about the faith. And
beautiful.
But these are all accidents. These are, jobs the Lord throws into my path. I don't have a regular role, but I couldn't do any of this if I wasn't a Dominican. I wouldn't have had the confidence. I wouldn't have had the knowledge because I've been guided into study that's relevant to my life as a lay Catholic. So it's basically just responding to people who, to me, it seems, have a need to talk talk about I think of St. Dominic. They said he was always talking to God or about God. And I find myself talking about God a lot, but I don't have a program. It just happens.
And I agree with you. I've noticed also that there is the need for just somebody to be there and listen to the other is increasing. I find that there is a lot of need out there. A lot of people are searching for the truth, and for answers and for meaning, I think, as well, to their lives. So yeah, plenty of opportunities.
I think the more our society, Western Europe, North America, the more our society tries to eliminate God from the conversation, the more likely it seems to me that people will start talking about God themselves, because the need remains. You can't eliminate God from people's thoughts. We're wired that way to need him, to look for him and so on. And if you can't do it in the wider civic sphere, as we increasingly apparently can't, then when 2 or 3 people get together in a huddle, up comes this subject. You know, all the old questions about why am I here? Why do I exist? What should I do? Questions going right back to the ancient Greeks. Why am I here? How should I live? And as a Catholic and a Dominican, we have something to offer in answer to those questions, but they do come up. I was making tea at a kind of non-denominational outreach place with an Anglican lady the other day who's a regular churchgoer, and we got into this fantastic theological conversation, and over making tea for the down and outs, you know. And the work is there. You just have to keep your eyes open.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's so true. Okay, so Jill, which Dominican saint do you have the most devotion to, and why?
When I was a little girl, I was quite taken with St. Rose of Lima, because when I came across her, the stories about her, she was a little girl, and I thought, oh, I can be like her. But I think that was just a childhood romanticizing. As I've got older, St. Martin de Porres, the Dominican cooperator brother in Lima, Peru in the 17th century, he wasn't a scholar, he wasn't an academic. I'm not. He was given the job of a non-academic, a non-scholar working for other non-scholars, and so I see something of myself there. Some Lay Dominicans work in universities and they're professional theologians and so on, but I think there's a place for amateur theologians, and that's how I rather see St. Martin. I do a lot of driving people around in my the elderly and the housebound and this kind of thing, and visiting the housebound, and that was what St. Martin de Porres did as well. He had his broom and his medicine bag, and I have my car, and that's my broom. So if I'm trying to do something useful, I try to keep St. Martin de Porres on my side.
Yeah, a good choice. Okay, last question, Jill. Books. So, which book would you recommend, and why?
Well,
any book. It doesn't have any book.
Any book.
Yes.
Can I be greedy and mention 3?
I'll go on then.
just quickly. Well, the book I've given away most often copies of to people who have been curious about Christianity has been the book, an old book now, God Matters, by Father Herbert McCabe, OP. He starts from the very basic questions of what's it all about? And, you know, God, what do you mean by God? And he takes you right through. And he, on the cover of one of my copies of Herbert's book, that he does a quick biography of Jesus, not biography, he runs through Jesus's ancestry. And they were robbers and tarts and no goods of every description. and Herbert ends up by saying, and he was born into a family like that, so there's hope for the rest of us. So I would recommend Herbert's book God Matters and its follow-ups to anybody, but that's a book I would rescue if there was a fire. But at the moment I seem to be going back to our spiritual ancestors. I'm reading a book by Bishop Robert Barron called The Great Story of Israel, which is looking at the books of the Old Testament, and particularly the ones we find tricky and irrelevant, like Leviticus, through the lens of Jesus Christ. And it's very accessible, and it's a jolly good read, and it kind of pulls the Bible together into Christ. I recommend that highly. And the other one I'm reading is about the fathers of the church by Father Aidan Nichols OP, The Singing Masters. It's a new book, a very easy to read book about the great early fathers of the church, the Cyrils and the Basils and the Gregories and so on. So these books are all an easy way in for me,
Yes.
non-scholar, you know what I mean, but I learned such a lot from our Dominican writers. There we are.
Excellent. Okay, well, that's it, Jill. It's been wonderful to meet you as a Lay Dominican. Okay. So,
Likewise, Teresa. Okay.